A hiker decided to go on a hike by himself, something he was not very used to. The whole day was normal. Trees and bushes engulfed his surroundings. He enjoyed being outdoors in the mountains. Nothing seemed strange to him. That was until he was making his way back to his car. He figured an 8-hour hike was good enough. The sky was already getting dark, and he needed to get back, fast. What was odd was how much he didn't recognize the trail back. He began to panic. Night had already taken over, and all he had was a flashlight and no clue on how to get back. He knew it was already too late and too dangerous to keep going through the perilous forest. He began to worry that he would have no shelter for the night when, almost luckily enough, he stumbled across a broken-down cabin. It was dark and seemed like no one had visited it in years. But he knew it was the only place where he could rest until daylight, especially since his flashlight was running out of battery. He knocked on the door a few times, but no one answered, so he let himself in where, strangely enough, a perfect bed fitted for one person awaited him in the center. He knew that if the owner came back, he could explain himself. He was sure that the owner wouldn't mind, or was even probably dead. So he went ahead and got himself comfortable in bed. As he tried to sleep, he couldn't ignore the collection of paintings around the room. Portraits of strange-looking people, all peering at him, each wearing a smile that sent chills up his spine. Not too long after his exhaustion from the hike got the best of him, and he was able to ignore the faces. The next morning, he got up early and was shocked to see that there were no paintings around the room, but windows. The hiker's heart raced as he took in the sudden change in the cabin. Confusion and a growing sense of unease washed over him. Where had the paintings gone? He was certain they had been there the previous night, their eerie smiles etched into his memory. But now, in their place, were windows. Windows that revealed a landscape far different from what he remembered. He hurried to the nearest window and peered outside. Instead of the dense forest he had seen the previous night, he was met with a desolate and unfamiliar terrain. The land stretched out into barren, ashen plains that seemed to go on forever. The sky above was a sickly shade of yellow, casting an eerie glow over the desolation. Panic gnawed at the hiker's insides. Had he somehow entered a different dimension? Was he still dreaming? He pinched himself hard, feeling the sting, confirming that he was indeed awake. He quickly checked the other windows, hoping that maybe one of them would reveal the familiar surroundings of the forest he had hiked through. But each window only showed the same lifeless expanse. His mind raced, trying to piece together what had happened. Could it be some sort of illusion? Or perhaps the cabin itself was some kind of portal? Shaking off his bewilderment, the hiker grabbed his backpack and hurriedly left the cabin. The air outside was thick with an unsettling stillness. He stood on the porch, feeling a mix of trepidation and determination. He needed to find his way back to his world, his reality. He retraced his steps from the previous day, his surroundings feeling both alien and disorienting. Hours passed as he walked, the sun hanging low in the strange sky. Fatigue gnawed at him, but fear and adrenaline pushed him forward. As the sun began to set once again, the hiker's heart sank. He hadn't made any progress in finding his way back. Desperation settled in, and he sank to the ground, his mind and body weary, just as hope seemed to slip away. A soft, almost imperceptible sound reached his ears. It was the distant hum of an engine. His heart leapt in his chest, and he scrambled to his feet. Following the sound, he soon stumbled upon a narrow path that he hadn't noticed before. The path led him to a small clearing where an old pickup truck sat. Relief flooded over him. He approached the truck cautiously, half expecting it to vanish like a mirage. But it was real. The driver's side door was slightly ajar. Summoning his remaining strength, the hiker climbed into the truck and turned the key that was in the ignition. To his amazement, the engine roared to life. Without a second thought, he drove, following a rough trail that seemed to materialize before him. As he navigated the unfamiliar terrain, he noticed the landscape changing once again. The ashen plains gave way to more recognizable surroundings, trees, hills, and the beauty of nature he had longed to see. Hours later, he found himself back at his car, parked where he had left it before embarking on his ill-fated hike. Relief washed over him, and he knew he was finally back in his own world. Though he made it out, the memory of that otherworldly cabin and its eerie paintings haunted his dreams for years to come. He couldn't help but wonder what kind of strange, twisted reality he had stumbled into, and whether it might somehow intersect with his own again.